no Miracle Whip in my book.
It's in your mouth, son.
Emo Brown Podcast. Emo Brown Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen and sports aficionados across the land, except for Philadelphia, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Emo Brown, the podcast, the interview series, brought to you by the wonderful people at... That's right, gang. 3 Punk Ales, where all of my favorite beers are on tap right now, and I can't even have one drop of them. But cruise in, get yourself a Tres Animales. We just dropped that bad boy over the weekend. 10.5% of pure liquid gold. Oh my God. I'm going to get schooled today. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ron Burgundy himself, we have Darnay Tripp up in the house today, bro. Look at my pants. What up, Darnay?
How are you? I like the hat, by the way. You're kind of threading the needle a little bit. Got the SDFC,
What's
but
up,
Padres
dog?
yellow as well.
Por vida,
so
you know, it's
checking all
like-
the boxes.
We were Ricardo Campos, fan of the show, big ups.
Yeah.
He came by, dropped off a bunch of gear, him and Sebs. So it's like, it's perfect, dude. I love the SD yellow. I have the
Yeah.
SD red. We have the SD blue, and then we had our first SDFC loss over the weekend. Man, that was it was destined to happen. It just wasn't in the cards.
It was the team who lost it, not the fans.
Oh God, why do you have to go there, bro? You don't even know what the word means, and you're over here just throwing accusations.
I don't know it, but you call me that a lot.
I do, brother. I love you, my little rice cake. Darnay, welcome. I'm happy you're here, dude. Real talk.
I'm fired up.
Big fan of what you do on TV. Bigger fan of what you do on the podcast.
Nice.
Where are you from?
I'm from Philadelphia originally. So I grew up on the East Coast, spent pretty much my entire life on the East Coast through college, went to school in Baltimore, and then have kind of bounced around a bunch since then. And have been in San Diego for about 6 years now.
Heck yeah, bro.
San Diego's home now. Love it here. My wife's family's from here. We're in South Park enjoying ourselves. And so, yeah, I feel like I'm like kind of becoming a San Diegan now.
Well, hold on there, brother. Let's ease
Might not
up
be
on
there
that
yet.
shit. He said 6 years and he's already to ease up, dude.
Yeah, I feel like it. I don't know. You know, I don't have my card like people that are like my wife who are from here and grew up here. But I mean, the city's kind of
All right, let's
intoxicating,
see.
you know? Like you feel
Go
like
to taco shop, Darnay.
go-to taco shop. Say Humberto's in Golden Hill.
Oh, well, I don't know where Golden Hills is, but all right. Sounds good to me. What's the go-to order?
California burrito.
All right, dog.
Or carne asada nachos.
With or without guacamole on the burrito, Cali burrito?
Do people get it without?
Some
Is
people,
that a thing?
Some people make it without, dude.
Really?
Yeah. My favorite Cali burrito comes without guacamole.
Not
Big
for
ups
us. We
Lolitas
special.
for
Big
always,
Lolitas, yeah.
making things good in my stomach. But yeah, it comes without guacamole. You have to order it.
Sad that the Lolitas by Petco Park closed.
Yeah. Dude, how does that happen? Downtown is just thriving with homeless people, but more like Petco Park when the season's on. It's like, it's nonstop. Like,
You would think that'd be a pretty good location for.
They were always busy.
it was always busy, but you got, I'm sure the landlords and the cost of operating down there is a pretty penny, dude. Fortunately for us, they have 6 other locations, Darnay. I'll take you out one day to over there. You get a pass. I like them better.
Kearney Mesa isn't too far from us, so every
Okay.
so often I'll put an order and
Write that down. Golden Hills is next to Kearney Mesa.
it's not no.
no? Oh,
it's,
okay.
it's near the TV station. So on a dinner break, I'll head up. I don't know if it's on Kearney Mesa, and yeah, it's one of the spots.
TV station. So you are currently and have always been at NBC San Diego, KNSD. I hear the little ding, ding, ding in my head going on right now. Why sports reporting? How did that happen? What were the path ultimately that led you down here to San Diego?
I mean, I think you're pretty typical path of like somebody that likes sports and wishes they were good enough to play sports and then realizes that's not the case. And so it was just a way of staying around sports in some way, shape, or form. And yeah, like in college, I just I did all the boring experimentation in college. It was like TV, newspaper, radio, like let's see what I like, just to kind of stick around it. Liked TV a lot. And was fortunate enough to get a job out of college, and kind of off I went. And so I bounced around different cities, different TV stations, and then, like I said, my wife's from here. We met, we did long distance for a couple years, and then was fortunate enough to get the job. And So I think you have a lot of people in like local TV that are like real local TV junkies. Like they love the art form, they love the medium, they grew up consuming it, and I did to a degree. But for me, the career was always just about like a love of sports and wanting to stick around it and be around athletes and go to games. And this was the way I was able to do it and what I enjoy doing. And so that's kind of been my path.
What sports did you play growing up?
Probably basketball more than anything.
You're a tall drink of water, bro.
I wasn't always. I was 5'4" junior year.
Oh man.
And so it should have been pretty obvious at that point that like I wasn't going to get a scholarship or anything like that. But you know, you're
chess, maybe
yeah, maybe a chess scholarship. So no, like I wanted to have the usual path that anybody else would, get a scholarship, play in the NBA, that sort of thing. Pretty obviously not in the cards for me, but it's been a fun journey either way.
6 years in San Diego, is that enough time to wash the Philadelphia sports fandom out of your system, or is it still
I
heavily
will
in there?
say, I don't know if you caught the Super Bowl, about a month or so ago.
Heard about it. Kendrick played, I heard.
Kendrick did play, yes. Very good halftime show. There's a lot of East Coast. I don't know how you feel about it. There's a lot of East Coasters out here.
Why wouldn't they be in San Diego?
Why wouldn't they?
Jeez, better food. Don't at me.
Yeah.
Don't even send me a message. What's good in Philadelphia that it's comparable to, I don't know, a fucking California burrito?
Well, I mean, everybody
Cheesesteaks?
knows the cheesesteak.
Yeah.
The roast pork sandwich, hoagies.
Hoagies, okay.
Good pizza, Italian food, that sort of thing. But I love San Diego's food town.
Mad at you. Way to bring it back.
Yeah, no, it's elite. That's one of the things that we've enjoyed doing, since I started visiting and all that. There are no shortage of great options everywhere you go, every neighborhood. I love it. But I mean, back to the Super Bowl, when it came around, like every day, especially the day of the Super Bowl, I'm like saying "Go Birds" to people in Eagles gear, people yelling at me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it felt a little bit like home for like a day or so there. But yeah, it's just living in San Diego.
Eagles fans or just complete anti-Chief fans?
It was both.
Right?
I actually had a girl say "Go Eagles" and said "Go Birds" back, and she was like, "That's saying something because I'm actually a Dallas fan.
Oh.
I'm just so sick of the Chiefs.
The hate is real,
like
bro.
Bills fans everywhere, and like Philly is not the most liked fan base in city.
We'll get to that.
Like we've played the Patriots, we've played the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, two teams that people were tired of, and so we kind of had the casual fan on our side, so that was kind of cool.
What is it about Philadelphia sports fans, bro? What is it? You guys are very passionate.
Passionate bunch.
But you're not the worst fans. You're not the worst.
I was playing downtown during the Super Bowl, and I saw more Eagles fans on Eagles fans fights than anything else. I don't think I saw one Eagles fan versus Chiefs fight, but I saw two solid Eagles fan on Eagles fans fights.
The only issue I'd have ever at Petco was the Shane Victorino era. I believe that was there was an issue there
Chase
with some
Utley,
there was just people in the crowds were fighting, and like you said, BJ, like it wasn't even like Philly on Padre mayhem. It was Philly on Philly stuff. I was like, oh, we're gonna sit this one out. We're pretty passive down here. Our
More
neighbors
so-
to the north are a little bit more aggressive when
More
it
so
comes.
than Dodger fans?
Oh yeah, dude.
Really?
Dodger fans they're a handful.
Yeah.
We're less a handful than Dodger fans. The Philadelphia sport fans and the Dodger fans, you guys are kind of neck and neck, bro. It's out there, and I get it. You got to show pride from where you're from, and I'm like, oh wow, that's crazy, man. These
Yeah.
guys came to fight.
it can get aggressive for sure. There have been some issues. I think they made it through the Super Bowl without any real problems. So like hats off to them. There was that really unruly fan, I think, at a Packers game, and the team kind of dealt with that, which is good. Send a good message to the fan base, like show your passion, get fired up, but like be good to your common man, even if they're wearing the wrong colors.
Yeah.
But it's funny, like my wife, she's visited Philly a bunch now, and we're often there around the holidays, and everybody's like in a good mood during the holidays, Christmas spirit and all that. But we were walking around one day, and I think a guy opened the door for us, and she's like, man, people here are really nice. And I'm like, nobody's ever come to Philly and said that. But there was a line I've heard, like, they're not nice, but they're kind, if that makes sense.
That makes total sense.
So there's like
bro.
an edge to them,
Absolutely.
but like they'll ask you, hey, how you doing? Have a good one, that sort of thing. They'll smile to you. So if you can kind of get through the crusty exterior, there's more warmth there than I think people might realize.
We don't have a football team. So we welcome all non-football or non-Charger teams down here, bro. And the Eagles, by victim of circumstance, we're like, we were all Eagles fans during the Super Bowl.
Pretzels and pumpkins, North Park.
All Eagle fans, all Philly fans. I mean, the Phillies don't really bother me until we get into the playoffs, you know, and then it becomes an issue.
That was a little bit weird for me. I mean, how often am I watching a Phillies game during the season? It's
not at all.
Rare.
Really?
If ever.
You grew up, obviously, a Philly fan.
Yeah, I grew up a Phillies fan, but like I try and be really locked in on like what I'm doing, the teams that I'm covering. And so like don't ask me to do like a season preview show with the Phillies. That would be useless. Padres, I like to be informed and get to as many games as I can, interact with the guys, read up on the team, and again, just be as informed as possible. So it's like on one hand, in 2022, you have like this childhood team that you grew up rooting for, but then you have the team that you actually feel connected to and know a lot more about. And I've even thought about it like with our kids, like, okay, like they're probably going to root for the Eagles. They might root for the Sixers, which I shouldn't, put them through that. But
why not? If you're going to put them through Padre fandom, might as well put them through the Sixers.
But in terms of baseball, like they should be Padres fans because, like, for one, my wife can't ignore that part of the equation. She grew up here. She'll feel more of a connection to the Padres, but like they have a chance to actually go to the games, watch the games on TV, maybe interact, get an autograph, that sort of thing. It would feel selfish of me to be like, no, you're a Philly sports fan when we're 10 minutes from the stadium. Like you should be able to enjoy that experience. And in the fall, you can be an Eagles fan, and that's great.
I'm very jealous of Philly sports, though, in all honesty. You guys have every aspect of major sports out there, man. You obviously have hockey, basketball, baseball, football, soccer, all of the things. Down here, we just have the Padres, and now we have SDFC. And we have the San Diego Clippers in North County. And we've always had the San Diego Sockers, the most winningest franchise in sports history.
We got the Gulls.
The Gulls. I've tried, fool. I've tried. I've gone to a couple of games. Matches or games? What do we call hockey?
Games.
I've seen the puck get hit around.
Hockey's great.
Yeah.
Great environment.
It's difficult for me to follow. Like, I remember I started watching it kind of when Fox introduced the glowing puck.
Yeah.
It was like a little orb just floating around. It's like, I can't. And that was it. I couldn't name you five.
Now they have like the puck that they blow up to like 4 times its size. So like if you watch on TV, you're like, oh, that's so easy to see.
Yeah.
I don't know why people complain in the stands, but you go to the stands, like, what the fuck is going on down there?
Yeah.
Beer helps.
You gotta get you down there banging on the glass,
Yeah, I mean, we went on emo night, so maybe it was the wrong night to go, dude.
That was a good night to go.
It was cool shirts and everything, yeah. And no, we've been to the Gulls, big supporter of the Gulls, big ups, friends of the show. But I mean, we just have the two legit teams that we can support, whereas Philadelphia has it all, man.
I think there's a lot of people in Philly who would say don't be jealous of us because Flyers haven't done anything in a long time. Sixers have kind of missed their window. They've been a complete disaster. It's been good for the Eagles, been pretty good for the Phillies, but I mean, it's been cool. Like I got here in 2019 and it was a couple years after everything went down with the Chargers.
Yeah.
So that was kind of before my time. I just
when
watched
was that? 2016?
End of 2016. Yeah. So that was before my time. From the outside perspective, I hated to see it because you imagine what would it be like for me to kind of go through that. San Diego's a great city. Like obviously there should be an NFL franchise here. LA doesn't need two teams, but that was kind of before my time. I got here and it was like a little bit sleepy on the sports scene.
For sure.
And the Padres, like they got Tatis, they got Machado that season and things started to pick up and there was more excitement. And that was cool to see. But it was like before the Loyals, before the Wave, obviously before STFC. And you're kind of like, okay, what's going to happen? Obviously the Padres became the team and the show in town. But it's been cool seeing the city kind of now lean into like the soccer identity.
Yes.
And to now have like a successful women's team and now what appears to be the foundation of a successful Major League Soccer team, and to kind of have the city find itself in that respect along with the Padres has been kind of cool to watch and be along for.
You came at the right time then, man. You came because prior to that, Petco Park was a shell of what it is now, man. We would go. We've been season ticket holders for quite some time. I've been married now 20 years, and I think we got them right when we got married. And we've moved around from the park from different stand areas and seating locations. Bro, it was so quiet that you would hear a heckler just shitting on Brian Giles, bro. And we would be like, oh my God, can you hear him? Like, yeah, they can hear it. It's like there's nobody else saying it. It was so quiet. And then from one season to the next, like you mentioned, Machado got signed. I remember being in front of the Elwood when Ben and Woods were on the radio and they announced, oh my God, it's happening. And I was like, oh shit, it's like one of those, it's our JFK moment. We signed Manny Machado, you know, like that was our big deal. That's
Back and to the left.
That's how lonely of a sports town we were.
There's got to be a better comp than that.
Yeah, for me, that was it. And I was like, oh my God. We have nothing. We had San Diego State basketball, which started happening and doing its thing as well. But my kids are in a fortunate position that they're going to see the Padres for all they are. I have a 12, a 10, and a 7-year-old, and all they know is like, oh, this is a great team. Yeah. The stadium is loud. Oh my God, everyone's partying. And it's like, yeah, it wasn't always like back in my day. It was way different.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. We went when Laura and I were doing distance. I was here in like August of 2017, so it was before it really like picked up. I had a buddy in town as well. We're like, let's go to a Padres game. I think actually the Phillies were in town. Like, let's go to a Padres game, and we got like $30 seats, like third row left field, like great seats.
Probably 10 minutes before the game started, too.
Like I could have thrown a baseball at whoever was in left field that night and probably hit them for nothing. And it was probably like a Tuesday, Wednesday night during the summer. Stadium was mostly empty. Rhys Hoskins homered twice, and the ball hitting the seats was so loud because there was nobody in the vicinity. Man. Whereas now, Tuesday or Wednesday night, if it's not sold out, it's close. You're not hearing the ball hit the seats because, like, to steal the line from Don Orsillo, there's going to be a sea of San Diegans there to catch it. And so, yeah, I mean, that's what you want to see. Like, it's fun for me. Obviously, it's fun for the fans. That's what you want. It's fun for the team and for the players. But for somebody in my position, like, what you're excited about is being in a city where people are like fired up about what's going on and engage with it, and they're going out to games. And so it's been awesome seeing that kind of grow and develop with the Padres and with other teams as well.
This must make your job probably a little easier now, having a team like the Padres and teams like the Wave, teams like SDFC now. Because before, what was there? You know, it was like, oh, today at Torrey Pines, or today at Del Mar, the racetrack, you know, and it's like, now it's like we have legitimate sports franchise that, because when Padres baseball ends, usually, you know, end of September, beginning of October, before playoffs even started back in the day, that was it. You didn't hear one whisper of anything. Yeah. Now I feel like there is a very active off season, not so much this season, but there's active off seasons where like we stay in tune with what's going on and what's going.
100%.
You know, that must make your job a little easier. I'm assuming
it does, because like, you know, even when there might not be like concrete news, there's enough speculation and enough interest from people that want to know what's going on. So, like, for instance, this offseason was all about, like, Roki Sasaki.
Yeah.
It didn't turn out the way that we had hoped. But, like, that was a constant story, constant updates, and you know, like, the viewing public is interested in this story. And so there's room for the speculation and the rumors. It's not just for like the super diehards. People care about this team. They want them to do well. Obviously, there's like the Dodgers rivalry aspect, and that was part of kind of the sweepstakes as well with Sasaki. And so
we're rivals. We're okay to say.
I think it's safe at this point. And like the team itself would say that. Dodger fans might not believe it, but like take a cue from the team itself.
When Mookie Betts says, dude, these guys are our rivals.
Dave Roberts, all those guys
like, saying that the toughest series for them to actually get to the World Series was the Padres. That's enough.
That's good enough for me.
Right?
That's good enough for me. And so, it's like, you know, it's same, like everybody talks about the NFL. NFL is a year-round sport because there's interest in it and people want to know what's going on. The player transactions, rumors, all that. That's how it is with Padres baseball in San Diego. That's probably what it's going to be as people get more familiarity with like SDFC.
Yeah.
Even the Wave. The Wave sadly lost a bunch of star players.
But I mean, that's part of
news, and that's part of it.
That's the growth. Getting one of our star players to sign with Chelsea for $1 million.
It's crazy.
For women's soccer, it's like, what?
Yeah.
This is awesome. Yeah. You know, and now you get to follow English soccer and see what's going on over there. And hopefully it creates a whole new era of new women's soccer players in San Diego. It's like, this is an opportunity. You know, same with SCFC. Young kids here, boys and girls, now it's like, oh, we have a team.
Yeah.
Like, I can actually go to a match and potentially one day play, Chula Vista kid, Brendan Vasquez, who
scored.
he's a freaking monster.
Yeah.
I remember
he should have had like 4 goals yesterday.
Yeah,
had the one.
that's not the Chula Vista in him, that's a TJ in him. But yeah, I mean, that guy is, I heard a lot about him when he was younger, like, oh, there's this kid, blah, 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 by national, doing this, doing that.
Yeah.
And to actually get to see him play our team, I was like, oh, wow, he really put it to us.
Well, and then like Luca De La Torre being a great example as well. Like he went to Fulham of the English Premier League when he was 15 years old.
Yeah.
Like hadn't even probably like a sophomore in high school. And so now you're going to have more kids that are developed here. Maybe they start their careers with SDFC and at some point get sold off to, some team in Spain or Italy or England. And then you can watch their career.
That is awesome.
Kind of awesome because you get a chance to like, now people are familiar with like, okay, they know the name Brandon Vasquez, they know the name Paul Arriola and Luca De La Torre, but you didn't really have like kind of the true connection with them because they're all off doing their thing from like teenage on. And whereas if you hear the name and then you actually see them like at Snapdragon, maybe play like a season or 2 here, you have that real connection.
Yeah. Then
when you go off, there's I think going to be even more curiosity beyond just kind of the diehard soccer fan base, just San Diego fans in general, the same way you feel about like Steven Strasburg or Kawhi Leonard or, Reggie Bush, Alex Smith that go off and do their thing. Like you had a chance to really watch them and get to know them here before they...
I noticed you didn't say Adrian Gonzalez.
Or Adrian Gonzalez.
Well on you. Good on you.
Or Adrian Gonzalez,
Yeah, Eastlake High School is a powerhouse for baseball players right now. And they're just knocking guys into the majors like crazy. Oh, man, let's get into some baseball because before we get into Padres baseball, all in, who was your go-to players in Philadelphia growing up? You said you're almost 40, so that's a little too young for the Von Hayes era.
In terms of baseball?
Yeah.
Like, my first heartbreak was Joe Carter in 1993.
Poor Mitch Williams.
So you're talking Darren Dalton, rest in peace, Lenny Dykstra, John Kruk.
Yeah.
Those guys, Pete Incaviglia.
That's right. He was there for a minute. That's true.
Kevin Stocker, Mickey Morandini. He's a San Diego guy? Or Stocker? I feel one of those guys I want to say is a San Diego guy.
Mickey Morandini, I think. If you get a chance, BJ over there.
And so, that was my team. But I have like a memory of like I watched the game the night before. Then my parents used to always have ABC News in Philly on as I was getting ready for school and just laying in bed, seeing the highlights, like hoping the highlights change every single time. But sure enough, Joe Carter hit the home run every single time. So that was my first heartbreak. And then I was a little bit older, like college. I think I was 21 or 22 when they won the World Series in 2008.
The Ryan Howard, Jimmy Rollins,
Chase Utley, J. Roll, Cole Hamels, those guys. Cole
San
Hamels,
Diego
Rancho
boy.
Bernardo.
Out of him.
So yeah.
Look at you, man. Okay, enough of that. Let's watch the Philly right out of us.
Let's do it.
Philly Fanatic. The Ground Floor Murals gang, they decided to drop the Philly Fanatic being abused by the the Friar,
San Diego
right?
chicken.
Or the
San
chicken.
Diego chicken, yeah, that's right.
Somebody being from Philadelphia, did that trigger you? You're like, wait a second, guys.
Like, I mean, I'm all about the smoke. Like that's
Yeah.
what makes it fun. Like let's do it. Let's trade some friendly
Agreed.
barbs. Let's fire some shots like in a healthy, responsible manner. I'm all about it. Like that's what makes it fun. So I, nothing against it. No hard feelings.
Here we are.
Especially since it was mascots. It wasn't
Yeah,
just
man.
Mascots. It's mascots.
Bro, welcome to the era where everybody just wants to get hyped and mad about something.
Did you see the Austin FC? Darren sent, mutual friend, Darren Smith, friend of
the show.
program.
Big up there, Darren.
Did he send you the Austin FC clip?
No. What happened?
I think San Diego FC tweeted like, GG, good game, Austin. And they quote tweeted it with Anchorman, a logo over Ron Burgundy's face. And it was the go yourself,
Really?
San Diego. So I was like, all right, Austin, kind of coming
Wait,
in.
from the official
From
Austin
the official
FC?
Austin FC.
That's McConaughey's team, right? or am I tripping?
Yeah. So they, they took a
won?
shot.
Okay.
So like, let's have fun with it. So
Now we
I'm
know.
interested to see how SDFC responds when they cross paths again.
Well, you know what? Our SCFC social media, like the content person, they don't hold back. Like I've seen it firsthand there where we were talking about the forbidden chant and shit, and then they just kind of go in toe to toe. So, okay, I know they got it in them. We should
Yeah.
be going out and talking some shit. LAFC's coming this week. I think this is going to be the first match I go to. Because I've had the general admission tickets for the supporter section. I just haven't had a chance to go. I think this is going to be the first match.
You gonna tailgate or no?
No, bro.
I know you can't drink, but there's other things to do.
Dude, I can be in the mix.
The tailgate looked awesome.
It does. It looks.
I walked through
deadly,
for the
dude.
first match, St. Louis. It was. I mean, I wish I could have like hung out and really enjoyed it. It looked like a good time.
So you're a soccer fan, huh?
I am
slowly or have been.
No, I'm like a recent soccer kind of adapter. I mean, I'm happy to admit I'm like a soccer newbie. I'm figuring this out as we go. It was never part of my experience growing up. Like we didn't have the Philly Union when I was younger. Didn't really have a family member that was super into it. And now it's just like being in a market where that's so much a part of the identity. And then you have the teams. I have a friend that got me into like an EPL team. I'm like, what the heck? Like, let's learn about it. Let's figure it out.
What's the squad, Darnay?
Nottingham Forest.
All right. Yeah, all right, cool.
So
afraid you were going to say Liverpool or some shit.
No. I have a neighbor who's from there, grew up a diehard Forest fan. He actually flew back home when they won the match that got them into the Premier League a couple years ago. And then they signed Matt Turner.
Yeah.
Who was the U.S. goalkeeper, and he messaged me. He's like, well, I guess you got to be a Forest fan. I'm like, what the heck? You know what I mean? Like, I've had a lot of friends become like Tottenham fans and Chelsea fans, and I'm always like, I want to have like a real connection, like something authentic there. So I was just going to be like, I'm a Man City fan now. And so once I had that, and I'm in a market and a city that's crazy about soccer, it's part of my job now. I was like, let me experience this and see what it's all about. And so, yeah, it's been fun to kind of figure it out. And I feel like, it's part of the job now. Like if
it's a great time for you to be a soccer fan, rather.
I feel like it's part of my responsibility.
Yeah.
Like if you're covering sports in the city, like you don't need to have like an EPL club, but you should be serious about it in San Diego with the Wave and the Soccers and SDFC. And so, yeah, I've been trying to lean into it and learn what I can.
It's a lot to stay on top of now in San Diego for sports related.
It's good though. Like, I mean, that's like you were saying earlier, it's what makes the job fun. Like you want more to do. You sometimes the slow days are nice to kind of catch your breath, but you don't want too many of them. It's like the last month has been, and even kind of seeing it coming from like February on, you're like, wow, SDFC is going to start in late February, and then they're going to have their home opener, and then you're going to get into March Madness. All these teams make the tournament, and the wave are coming, and Padres opening day is coming. Like it kind of gets the juices flowing. Because it's not just one thing, it's a variety of sports that kind of keeps you busy and engages kind of different corners of the fan base. So.
Yeah, because we're responsible gamblers over here, and there is a lull. There is a lull. There's a lull as soon as the
sure
Eagles.
It's responsible?
Yeah, it's hella responsible. I have a bookie who takes care of all of that for me. No, I'm just playing. But there's a lull like after the Super Bowl, and then it's like, okay, cool, now it's time to chill. But it's literally like a month because, like you said, that's March Madness. Because as soon as college basketball kind of gets its footing and we're in the thick of it, then it's March Madness, then it's spring training, then all of these things are happening, and I tell my wife, I was like, oh my god, it's on now. And then these kids, man, I have 3 little boys, and they are hyperactive when it comes to baseball.
They love gambling too.
Yeah, they love it, bro. I bet you won't get in.
They're a little more irresponsible.
I'll bet you this Pokemon that you don't have. And I was like, take it easy, guys. No, because like they have travel ball, bro, and then they have Little League, and there's 3 of them.
Betting on their travel ball games, like
yeah, man, I do.
Player props.
Yeah, right. I bet you this guy won't leg out a single into a double. No, man. So I love sports for that reason because it keeps my ADD enhanced brain just occupied with something, as if there isn't enough things to go. But this Thursday, BJ, is opening day. It's almost a legit holiday in San Diego. My brother-in-law and I, big up Sean, we go every year, bro. Even before he married my sister, even before he used me to get close to my sister and marry her, we've been going out and hanging out for, opening day, Padres baseball. We go to the field. And like I said, we construct an Irish car bomb, then we deconstruct it, and we blah, 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 blah. And by the time we get to the Petco, we're done.
Deconstructed Irish car bomb.
Absolutely, bro. And by the time we get to the Petco, we're like, oh my God, what happened? So this year's going to be a little different. I'm going to be more attentive to what's going on. What are some of the things we should be paying close attention to, Darnay, when it comes to Padres baseball, the 2025 season?
Is it deconstructed with a 3-punk ale?
No, we just break it all down. Yeah, the classic, what is it? The Baileys, the Jameson, and the Guinness. And then we just break it down, and then we'll do it again, and then we break it down again.
Crazy.
We can't say Irish car bomb. Somebody told
That
me.
is that is an offensive term, yeah.
To who?
To Irish people. 'Cause
The
it
Northern or
comes from the IRA. Like, it's like an act
yeah, I
of
guess it makes
terrorism.
You know what? I've been to Dublin.
That'd be like,
and they
I'm ordering the
love-
9/11 shot. Like,
and they
it's-
love the Mexicans. So I feel like they're going to give me
You
a
get a
pass.
pass.
They're going to give me a pass,
I'll
bro.
give you a pass.
It wasn't said with any malice.
Zero. Anything I say is said with zero malice, you know?
Next time you're at the field and you're drinking, you could try my favorite drink.
What's your
this
favorite
is where I
drink?
invented it because I used to play at the field, and I would make a black and tan or a snake bite, or whatever they're called, where the two beers are separated. But I would do the Belching Beaver peanut butter stout and a Cali Creamin' floating on the top.
then you lost
the Creamin' Beaver, delicious.
It's a family show, brother.
Oh, you said Irish car bomb.
That's fine.
I mean, it's about domestic terrorism.
It sounds really good.
Cream and beaver sounds outlandish.
It
What
is.
the heck is that?
It is a vocal warm up. That's how I used to start every show.
We have Michael King starting his
Yeah.
opening day, man.
Against the Braves, who he had like a historically great start against in October, 7 scoreless, 12 strikeouts. I like that guy a lot. Like, easy to talk to, super motivated, takes his craft seriously, doesn't seem to take himself too seriously.
Stands on business when it comes to his craft, though.
Works really,
For
really
sure.
hard, competitive. Cool hearing him talk about it, like, because they could have gone with Dylan Cease, but he's like, he wants to set the tone. He told Mike Schilt, like, we're going to be 1-0 after that, and he passed it
Hell
off to
yeah.
Dylan Cease and be like, all right, go top that. So that's the attitude that you want. He's been awesome. Like, I think you can say they won the Juan Soto trade, especially now
point.
that Juan Soto no longer plays for
Yep.
that team. So you feel good about that. Love having Michael King on the mound. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited about the season. I think if you had like pointed at a specific date on the calendar the last few months, especially before like January, and asked me how I felt about the Padres, I'd probably be like, I don't know, man. Might be time to tear it down. Because they weren't doing anything, and it didn't seem like they were going to be able to spend money. It thought maybe they'd have to, trade off guys like Dylan Cease, Luis Ariz. But once they made the Nick Pivetta deal, you're like, oh, they got a legit big league starter. And
There's money? We can use money now? All right, well, let's get it.
paid him a little bit of money.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so maybe they're not going to have to trade off parts. They kind of solidified the rotation, got a couple, vets out, Jason Hayward out in left field. And so you feel like, okay, they have like a legit roster. They kept the stars around. We saw what they did last year. I'm relieved because, again, there was a point in the offseason where I felt like, okay, they might have to go in a different direction and maybe really plan for the future. I think like going all in on 2025, if Dylan Cease walks, if Luis Ariz walks, if you can't keep Michael King, I think it's a better message to both the fan base and the guys in the clubhouse, Machado, Tatis, like, we're going for it. We want to give ourselves a chance to do what we were really close to doing last year, is take down the Dodgers and maybe really take a run at this thing, rather than like playing it safe, playing it conservative, and kind of hedging ahead for 26, 27 and beyond.
I love your podcast, On Friar Podcast.
Well, thank you.
It's an awesome podcast.
Appreciate
Hella informative, entertaining. I listen to it weekly. I think it comes out, right?
Thursdays. typically.
Thursday. So I listen to it nonstop because you have the optimistic point of view. You have because I'll listen to other
Sometimes they tested me this offseason.
Good, but look at you now.
Yeah, look at me now.
But I've listened to other podcasts and they're just so pessimistic, and it's like, oh, same old, this and that. I'm like, not for me. I just need somebody who tells it like it is. And if it's shitty time, then it's a shitty time. And if it's a good time, then it's a good time.
Yeah.
We got to dwell on those things. But man, I'm excited for the first time ever. Why? Because let us not forget how the Padres used to operate as opposed to how we operate right now. We have a legit core still, bro. We still have Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts. These are Jackson Merrill. Like, we have players that we never even considered dreaming of 10 years ago. And now I just feel, by victim of circumstance, what the Dodgers have done and continue to do, we can't continue to compare ourselves to them because it's going to be a shitty outcome. Well, look what they did. Look what they did. But that's not us. Like, we got to work with what we have. The one that really hurt was Blake Snell one. I was like, oh, man.
But
another guy who stands on business heavy, bro.
Yeah,
Big
for sure.
fan.
I like, and a guy that was awesome to cover because great personality, cool in the clubhouse, very candid, especially when he's kind of going through tough times, and just kind of a funny, quirky personality. I enjoyed covering Snell a lot. The Roki Sasaki thing was hard because you felt like you had a legit chance to get him. Like, a cheap talent, exactly what the Padres need, whereas you are never going to get Blake Snell back. You just hope that he would go to like Atlanta or Philly or the Yankees.
Stay out of the West, bro.
Stay out of the West. And I was just with my dad this past weekend. We were talking about the Padres, and he was asking how they're doing. He said something along the lines of, like, yeah, they're just in a tough division there with the Dodgers. And it's true. Like, if you were in the Central, like, you'd be chilling. Like, you just got the Brewers, basically. You know what I mean? Maybe the Cubs. Cardinals haven't done anything for, a couple years ago.
They're a long ways from doing anything again, too,
but it's
man.
hard when you're comparing yourself to the team that is your rival, that's just up the road, that has, like, the deepest pockets in baseball. You almost have to kind of just ignore it and set it aside to a degree and be like, okay, how are we positioned? Are we positioned in such a way to be a playoff team? Yes, the pieces are there where you don't have to squint too hard to imagine them making the playoffs. Just get that done, and then, hope you can shock the world once October rolls around.
Any other division that the Padres would be in, and yeah, we'd be looking good. We'd be sitting pretty. I mean, once upon a time, the East Coast AL East was the dreaded division, and I feel like that's kind of like a pit bull without teeth anymore. It's kind of slowed itself down. The Orioles are in the mix, even the Blue Jays to an extent do it, but over here it's nonstop. The Diamondbacks are projected to be a way better team with their starting rotation. The Giants, kind of a dark horse, doing their thing. The Rockies gonna Rocky. Unfortunately, the Rockies are just gonna Rocky, man. They'll never be good, I don't think. But playing in Colorado can't be easy, bro. You get those inflated numbers, but geez.
No, I mean, talk about feeling bad for a fan base. Like, if you were a diehard Rockies fan right now, you are going through it.
I've seen them. We went to GABF one year for it's like a beer festival.
Oh yeah,
and
you win any medals?
No.
Sorry,
what an asshole. No, and you go over there and you see there's real Rocky fans. Yeah. And I'm like, holy shit.
They exist?
You guys exist out here. Like, yeah, brother. Yeah, we fucking hate the Padres. Like, cool, man. That's fun. And I'm like, good. That means my team is doing something to be hated for, And it's like, it's just weird because you look at them and like, man, you guys are never going to win shit in this division. If the Padres can't win shit in this division with like a historically high payroll for our franchise, like how can a team working with that mentality ever win?
Yeah, because their owner, like when Peter Seidler was around and was being super aggressive, was it before the 2023 season? Dick Monfort, I believe is his name, was like
shitting on us.
Yeah, like this isn't sustainable. Basically saying that what they're doing is bad for baseball, which is just crazy. And obviously that season didn't turn out great.
And it almost was like not good for our franchise, man. But things almost fell out.
When you have when you have an owner that says that type of thing, or even like the Mariners, I think it was after 2 seasons ago, they were talking about their vision. They're like, we just want to be a team that wins 54% of our games every season, which when you break that down, you're winning like mid-high 80s. You might be a playoff team.
It's a wild card team right there.
It's also not a super inspiring thing to say to your fan base, like, yeah, we want to win 54% of our games. Like, there's a better way of messaging that. And I know, having spent some time in the Northwest and having fans that are Mariners fans, like that was a drag to hear. And you've even heard like big league players leave there and be like, it's a bummer. You don't feel like they're trying, especially when they've been so close and you have a fan base that there might be some parallels to the Padres in that there were a lot of lean years. You have some diehard fans, like, and not a small group that really want to see this team succeed, but you're not giving them, you're not willing to invest in the manner that you need to in order to make that happen, which we did see Peter Seidler do here, which I think is like, you got to spend money to make money. Like, they've shown it. Like, they've put in the investment and it's been returned by the fan base.
We'll always have the Vetter Cup, man, between the Mariners
which
and
is
the
like
Padres.
Legit now.
Straight up. I mean, it's
like
going for charity.
thing.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome. But I know, being like they're like our sister club where we get to see everything the Mariners do. I'm like, holy shit, imagine having that as a franchise to support. It's just a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to do. We're in a good spot, man. It's going to be a great season. I'm looking forward to it. So what are some of the unanswered questions that we have going into opening day right now? I haven't looked this morning. I haven't looked at any of these.
A lot of them, I think the rotation, last 2 spots in the rotation, you're basically looking at 2 spots for Randy Vasquez, Stephen Kolek, and Kyle Hart. Kyle Hart being the lefty in the mix, feel like there's a decent chance there. Randy Vasquez was there last year, did some good things. It feels like they kind of want Stephen Kolek to be a thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if they gave him the opportunity, but we'll see there. Sounds like the bench is pretty much buttoned up. Yuli Gurriel, Martin Maldonado, Gavin Sheets, Jose Iglesias, and then this morning, Brandon Lockridge.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I missed.
So there's your outfield piece.
no Oscar Gonzalez.
No Oscar Gonzalez, which is a guy I was excited
I was
about.
really hoping for him.
So hopefully he sticks around.
no
and-
Tirso?
No, he'll be back in El Paso.
Yeah.
But I think we'll see him at some point this season, which is encouraging. Really good start to the spring, kind of faded a little bit. Whereas Oscar's been pretty consistent
He's been
throughout.
breaking. What is he, like 6'4", 6'5", and
Big
he's
dude.
just ripping, bro.
Has some playoff experience, dinged up last year. And Preller's, he's always finding those like
Diamonds in the rough,
toolsy,
yeah.
like high upside
Yeah.
guys that maybe just haven't, had it all come together yet. And so Oscar might be that guy. So I'm excited to have those guys hopefully get their opportunity at some point, especially Tirso being a Tijuana guy. Like, great story.
That would be awesome.
Long time in the
Especially since
system.
Preller's notorious for trading Mexican players, dude. Every Mexican player that's come through says, Matt, trade him. Get him out of here. Can't do that to
Luis
Tirso, bro. You
Arias.
gotta get, Luis Arias. But he kind of did his thing. So
So-
Eggy Rosario, he's out of options. So he's no longer on the radar to make the team.
No, it doesn't appear so. Again, nice start to the spring. Dude's got a strikeout in him, man. Like, dude is good.
And he
for
ain't a
some
pitcher.
punch-outs. And he ain't a
And
pitcher.
he ain't a pitcher.
And so I like the idea of Egg. Gives you some sneaky slug. He can, if you're playing matchups and that sort of thing, playing the splits, he can be good for you. But I think as the spring has gone on, there's a lot of guys that you would list, some of which we've mentioned, that you feel maybe a little bit better about. Whereas Eggy, I think, it's a good story. I think like emotionally people have been invested in Eggy getting his opportunity, which he did a little bit last year, but hasn't really seemed like it's in the cards. And, they've gone after some of these seasoned veterans, for better or for worse. Maldonado over Campusano.
Yeah.
I think
Campusano still has options. So I guess you can plop him down in AAA for a little bit of the season.
and there's maybe been some campy fatigue, like people waiting for him to really seize the opportunity, and it hasn't happened yet. And you're banking on the defensive and the experience of Maldonado. Gurriel, I think, kind of caught people by surprise, but maybe can give you some consistency as a bat, as a DH.
Like, I understand the importance of having that veteran presence in the clubhouse and on the bench as a coming off the bench in the late inning roles. That's why I like Jason Hayward to an extent.
Yeah.
That's why I also like the Gurriel kind of move a little. It's like, oh, that could be cool. But having more of like than one or two on the bench is like, okay, what are we doing? Like, where's Connor Jogo? Where,
Yeah.
like a Tyler Wade is there, but did Tyler Wade just get played out by Julio Iglesias? Like, where are all these
It
players
seems
going to
like
go?
yeah. And Mike Schill talked about that Monday morning, having to have that tough conversation with Tyler Wade that, it's not.
So all this happened this morning?
Yeah.
I've missed all of this. I was at work like a weenie.
So, yeah.
Stop working.
I guess that's the move.
it won't be Tyler Wade. Once they brought in Jose Iglesias, it felt like unless it was a disaster,
yeah.
it was going to be Jose Iglesias.
Yeah.
But it also felt that way about Connor Joe. And so I think it's a bit of a surprise there that didn't work out, because when they brought him in with Jason Hayward, it just seemed like, okay, there's your platoon there. And I think last year, like Donovan Solano, David Peralta, they got these like, grizzled vets that did really, really well for them. And I wonder how much of it is AJ Preller wanting to kind of continue down that path with that trend. Guys have been around that fit in well in the clubhouse. Hopefully, all the stuff with Gurriel, like it seems like, things are
With you, Darvish, huh?
are cool there. They did their hopefully due diligence, and
At least on TV, it looks like they're cool.
yeah, got to trust that they had the appropriate conversations and everything is cool there. But they hit on those guys last year, and so I think it would have been exciting for me to see some of the young guys, because I think there's higher
Yeah.
upside, obviously, with an Oscar Gonzalez.
Yes, sir.
At different positions than a Yuli Gurriel, who's 40 years old and hasn't had a very good last few seasons. You get excited about those young guys. Hopefully they get their opportunity as the season goes on. But they've now kind of got that blend with a guy like Lockridge, Gavin Sheets, and then the Gurriels, Haywards, Iglesias of Maldonados of the world.
Again, furthermore, proving that the Padres are in a good position to start the season.
I will say, because like there's been past years where like the Matt Carpenter, Nelson Cruz,
Yeah.
you're like, do we have the guys to fill out the bench? Whereas this year is,
We have a surplus of guys.
who's going to be left
Yeah,
out? Like
somebody's
there's
gonna-
plenty of guys, plenty of different combinations that you'd feel good about, which I think is a good place to be.
Bullpen seems to be our strength always now. So for a minute, back to the old school eras, I feel like Darren Balsley always knew how to put up a bullpen and piece it together, and then passing the baton now to Mr. Niebla. Like they just handle business from the 6, 7, 8, 9 inning, bro. We always have a closer.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes we're like, oh, is this the guy? Because I remember when we got Suarez, like, oh, AJ Preller doing his talent scouting thing overseas again, and he struck gold, and it never seems to be an issue for our Padres from Scott Linebrink era to all the other pitchers that we've had in the bullpen. It's like, oh, all right, cool. So that's never seems to bother me. This year we have like a strong bullpen.
It's like when you have to have your one obligatory all-star, it's just going to be like the Padres closer.
Yeah.
Like Kirby Yates or Brett Hand or something
Keith
like that.
Bell. I remember those eras.
So, yeah, I mean, it's, Robert Suarez obviously had a really good season. You hate losing Tanner Scott, another guy that ended up with the Dodgers. I keep forgetting about these guys. There's been so many, you think so much about Sasaki and Snell, and then you're like, oh, yeah, Tanner Scott. There's
the only pitcher that could handle Ohtani.
Yeah.
They're like, you know what? Nah, we can't have him anywhere else. Let's bring him on our team now.
Ohtani 100% talked to ownership.
Oh, for sure. It's like, get this fool
guy
off of
owns
opposing
me.
teams.
Please, I don't want to see him in October again. And sure enough.
He's like, I bet you that he's going to strike me out.
Yeah. So there's a good.
That was an Ohtani gambling joke.
There's a good combination there. Jason Adam coming back.
Yes.
Jeremiah Estrada,
Yes.
one of the guys that had a breakthrough season. Adrian Morejon started coming to his own. Alec Jacob, kind of the quirky sidearm guy.
But they can't hit him. They can't hit him. He's there floating it in the what is it, like a Reagan era fastball, like in the late 80s, but that thing moves.
It's
and
swirly,
I'm like,
yeah. He's had a really good spring. So yeah, there's a bunch of guys, and then whoever doesn't make. Now Matt Waldron getting hurt throws it off a little bit, but if the one guy that doesn't make the rotation, maybe he's kind of your swing man. Gives you some long relief, and so yeah, they got a good combination there that I think you feel solid about. If it's Estrada, Adam, Suarez, if you're of your 7, 8, 9, Morejon in there as well. Coming at you from the left side. So yeah, I think it's again another area where they had options. It's more like, okay, who's going to make it as opposed to do we have enough guys? And even with like a guy like Sean Reynolds who showed some stuff last year, 6'8", hard thrower.
I like that guy, man.
There's some guys that will hopefully get healthy as the season goes on that will be able to contribute as well.
Tough couple series to start off the season too. I mean, we got the Braves, we got the Guardians. Yeah, we got the Guardians.
Should look at the schedule.
So it's gonna be because we're notorious slow starters. We put up a little poll up there. Ask away. We got a professional Padres insider coming on
that doesn't even know who they're playing up in the first series.
And then one of the questions was like, well, ask Darnay about us being notorious slow starters and what impact that could have moving forward.
It's interesting. I've thought a lot about like last year when they had a slow start. I think it triggered all of our like 2023 and 2021 PTSD. Where we saw like 2023, we just assumed it would get clicking with all the guys, just like in 2021, and it never happened. And so when they're kind of just treading their water the first few months of the season, and Mike Schilt was getting frustrated with reporters and all that, you're like, well, we've read this book before, and we know how it ends. As it turns out, fortunately, that wasn't the case. Like after the All-Star break, they were the best team in baseball, and so now I wonder how fans will. Now fans tend to go on the negative side of things, all fans everywhere. That's just kind of how we're wired. But I wonder how we will interpret that and process it if, say, they're a 500 team in June. When we've seen Mike Schultz's track record, the teams do tend to get better through the course of the season as opposed to coming off of 2023 where it was just a disaster from the jump and they never recovered. Hopefully that's not the case this year because, like you said, it's taken them some time to kind of hit their stride. Why that is, I don't know. I think last year you can look at the Manny Machado injury. He wasn't healthy until June. And to his credit, from like June 20th on, he was playing like MVP level baseball. I think Tatis even he had the leg thing and just him kind of getting right. Jackson Merrill, like super young, saw how good and how important he ended up being to this team. And so that was one of the things that came out of the spring is like Tatis is healthy and feels good. Machado is healthy and feels good. a lot of the core pieces are in a better place physically, and hopefully that'll lead to better results for the
Arise
team.
has 2 thumbs now.
Arise has 2 thumbs,
Yes.
which is great. Still won a batting title with 1 thumb.
Sometimes, if you can throw a no-hitter with 1 arm, you can definitely get a title with 1 thumb.
Yeah,
bro.
completely. So, hopefully they're able to avoid that. But I think one thing we learned from last year is Mike Schilt deserves some grace and some patience if they kind of spin their wheels a little bit for a month or two.
It doesn't get enough attention that maintaining consistency in your coaching staff goes a long way for the players performing. I mean, because they're getting the same direction, they're getting the same message that they've been, continuity speaks a lot. And I feel like the Padres are in a better position having Schilt, Eldeham, having Niebla, having all of these guys. I'm like, all right,
Victor Rodriguez.
Victor Rodriguez, bro.
I think everybody's been, they got Ruben Niebla. They're like, all right, we got our pitcher whisperer. We need to get our Ruben Niebla for the hitters. And it seems like they found that in Vic. After 2 years ago, they didn't have a hitting coach. They had an offensive coordinator.
It was a group, yeah.
Ryan Flaherty, all these, okay, what are we doing? It's not working. And then they get Vic, and he had a relationship with Mike Schilt going back, and it's worked out great.
Because we've never had a hitting coach that's been here longer than 2 years, been here longer than 1 season. It was turnover central for a while, man.
And they'd have a good season in 2020 and then 2021, kind of they struggle again. And you look kind of across the board, with the exception maybe being Xander Bogaerts, the season Profar had, the season Jackson Merrill had, obviously Machado, Tatis. There's so many guys that performed at the level that you would expect them to or higher, Profar being the example. I think just kind of the approach, whatever they did, they found kind of the secret formula.
Our catchers benefited, man. Our catchers, like Kyle Higashioka.
Yeah,
I was like, holy
you
crap.
couldn't have him in the lineup through June, and then he
And then
went
it clicked.
nuts.
Yeah,
he
and it clicked.
And so I think and individually, but then the collective mindset of the group was so much better than it was the year before, where guys there's real faith in one another. They were, obviously performed much better in kind of those clutch, high leverage situations. There was a real bond amongst the team. They had a better idea of what they wanted to do at the plate. And so all those things bode well. Like you said, the continuity is important. And I think, if we can have more than 2 years of Mike Schilt and his coaching staff.
Yeah.
Because that's what always worries me is you get through 2020 and you're like, oh, Jace Tingler, maybe he's the guy. You get through 2022, you're like, okay, Bob Melvin's probably going to retire here. You feel good about things. Hopefully what we saw with Mike Schilt and the staff is real, and they're able to have consecutive postseason season. That's the one thing that's missing. Obviously a World Series, but they've had these deep runs, but they just can't stack seasons. And that seems to be kind of a clear goal. All right, enough messing around, going back and forth between lousy season and fun playoff season. Let's reach our potential year after year and be a bona fide playoff team every single season, as opposed to these kind of peaks and valleys.
Well, let's hope Martin Maldonado can hit his weight, because if he can hit his weight, bro, he's a stud. Because obviously he's got the glove. He knows how to call a game. He controls the pitchers well.
Yeah.
But if he could hit his weight, that is a win and a victory for Rodriguez right there, bro.
I mean, I'm
he's on the team, 100%.
He appears to be on the team.
The saving grace is Ethan Salas is at most 2 seasons away.
Yeah.
At most. Hopefully, if all things go well, next season, but
I'm really my thing is, if Xander Bogaerts is Xander Bogaerts, then you're not worried about
Oh, no.
You're not worried about missing jerks and Profar. You're not worried about your catcher. You're not worried about Jake Cronenworth maybe having a lean few months. If you have that guy who's a 300 hitter, who has silver slugger, all-star type stuff, you're not worried about a lot. And that even affords Jackson Merrill to maybe have a bit of a sophomore slump, which no reason to think that he will, other than baseball's a hard sport.
Baseball's hard, man.
But I mean, Xander Bogaerts, if he's Xander Bogaerts, because there's the financial part of it. You're like, oh, why can't they spend money? Well, you're giving a guy $25 million.
Got a financial anchor at shortstop now.
That's giving you kind of replacement level performance. Great dude. Another awesome guy to talk to in the clubhouse. Super professional. He puts the work in. They just need the results. And I think if you get the results, it cures a lot of the ills that we worry about with this team.
That was one of the questions and other questions that we had was which position player carries the most pressure going into this season. And I think it's the X-Men, man. I mean,
because I think I think Machado had some of that. Tatis coming off the suspension, the injury. I think Machado did enough last year, and he's got some track record to him. But I mean, Xander Bogaerts, truth be told, doesn't have any track record in San Diego. I'm sure you could pinpoint a big at bat or a clutch hit, at some point last year. But just in terms of the overall performance, like we've seen Machado do it, we've seen Tatis do it. They've had MVP type seasons. You haven't seen it from Xander Bogaerts, and I mean he makes a lot of money.
He killed it the second half. Once he came back from his injury, he was hitting 280 over that last 2 months of the season. No power. If you remember, it was no slugging.
He should be a 20 home run guy. He's not going to be a 30, 35 home run guy, but he should be giving you a little bit more. And, you remember April of his first season here, everybody's like, Red Sox are crazy. How'd they let this guy go? What a steal for the Padres. Things slowed down.
Yeah.
Great September. If he can find whatever that was, and I remember he had the wrist thing that slowed him down.
Yeah.
But if he can tap into that more consistently, these days in baseball, $25 million isn't that much money. So if you can be an all-star type guy, then, people like me aren't saying, well, he's making $25 million, he should do more for you. If he can be an all-star type guy, then you're worried less about the money. And I think it takes some of the pressure off Machado, Tatis, Merrill, and you're maybe worried about missing Jerks and Profar so much.
At the end of the season, where is our 2025 Padres? What do you think ends up being our ceiling for wins?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have a tough time saying they're going to be a 93-win season again. Could I see it? Certainly. I think somewhere in the high 80s, 88, 89 wins, you probably feel good about that. And if you're in that neighborhood, you're playing in October and you have a chance. And so I could see them somewhere in that area. Hopefully, like you said, a better start. I mean, 43-19 to finish last season was bonkers.
Yeah.
So it's hard to necessarily expect that, but maybe it's just a more consistent. You don't have kind of the ups and downs that they had through April, May, and part of June last year. But I see them certainly as a playoff team that, like you said, they've got the dudes that can at least put a scare in the Dodgers once that series rolls around.
Do we have another trade in us? AJ Preller loves that week of trade.
Well, and what's interesting now is okay, what happens with a Luis Campusano? I thought maybe Dylan Cease was a possibility up until Yu Darvish gets injured. Now that's kind of hard to imagine because even if you did have a healthy Darvish and you traded Dylan Cease, you'd want to get an arm. Maybe it's a lesser experienced arm, but an arm back in return. That's hard to imagine, but I could see him now pulling off something with some of these parts that factored into the bench equation that are talented, useful big league baseball players that might just not have room on this current roster. I could see him piecing something together to maybe get another reliever or a left-handed bat or maybe a catcher, this or that. So that'll be interesting to watch because he's made that was a Taylor Rogers trade.
Yep.
That was an opening
day trade right there, man.
Dylan Cease was the days leading up to the Soul
Dodger
Series last year.
Yeah. Luis Arraez, within
May.
the first month. Yeah.
So it's always in there, but we'll see.
Darren Smith asks,
friend of the show.
Who is your favorite sports radio guy?
My favorite sports radio guy is now my favorite sports podcast guy. It's Darren Smith, right? I mean, come on. And I'm not just saying this to blow smoke. I don't think Darren was fishing for a compliment.
He was.
Big ups to John and Jim. I got to show love to John and Jim because they've had me on more than anybody else. I enjoy being a regular contributor to John and Jim. Love those guys. We got a group text going. So love their show. Ben and Woods, they've had me on a couple times. They're a great time. Super fun. Have a diehard audience. But I used to listen, I would listen to Darren on my way into the station. And you know how it is in the morning, especially now with kids, you're running around doing stuff. You might not have any idea what's going on, like you this morning.
Yeah,
all
no
this
idea.
Padres news, no clue. Flip on Darren, as I'm on my way into work around 2:30, kind of get my mind right and idea of what's going on. And so, for my money, and again, I know Darren wasn't asking for this, but when I got here and you're kind of surveying the landscape, to me, I was like, okay, that's like the preeminent voice in San Diego sports. And so always had a ton of respect for Darren and enjoy listening to him do his thing with John Gennaro now.
Yeah.
Bandwagon Beach. Shout out to those guys doing a great job. So enjoy hearing Darren. But I, now I listen to John and Jim on my way in, and I love those guys. And so there's still, I think you've seen the media scene kind of probably change.
Dude, it's crazy.
Through the years.
Dude, fucking people still listen to radio? Not really, but sports radio I still think is a thing.
And those guys have you watch the streams, like John and Jim and Ben and Woods and those guys. And my buddy Rich Ornberger, who I do Football Night in San Diego with. Now they're on, I'm blanking on the radio station, but they were doing their thing for 760. Now they're with another iHeart, the one that does the fireworks show. KGB, thank you very much.
Oh, look at you. Look at you. I knew you'd
now
come
they're
in
on the
handy
morning
today.
there.
I've been to this guy's show.
It's a little bit of sports. It's a little bit of kind of lifestyle, which is like right down Rich's alley. And so it's cool. All these shows have their diehard audience. And again, if you watch the streams, see the chat, it is popping off. And so that's the cool thing. You mentioned the podcast, in some ways it's easier to kind of feel the engagement there because people are in the chat, people are commenting on YouTube or on Twitter or Instagram.
You have a YouTube channel for the podcast?
Well, no, it's not specific. It's on our NBC 7
Oh,
YouTube channel.
Okay. I was like, I'm sleeping on this. I need to get on that.
No, but it's cool to see people engage in that way with whatever your show is, whatever your chosen personality is. I think now more than ever, you can get at them and you can interact with them, which makes the job more fun.
People tune into the radio, I feel, strictly for that. Local coverage of sports, local coverage of politics. Those seem to be the two driving factors for people to listen to the radio. Obviously, people will always watch local news because it's curtailed to us and our community and what we do. But yeah, man, listening to music on the radio, that seems...
Like a good morning show too.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. You better blend it.
You really used to have the radio on, and you might have a tape in the cassette deck ready to hit play record.
Yeah.
When your song comes on, because it's gonna play 5 times during the day, and you know what hours it might come on. The idea of just listening to the radio and hoping that I hear whatever. I was texting a buddy of mine that I grew up with, and I heard. I think it was 1979 by the Smashing Pumpkins.
Nice. I was thinking that.
And I was like, this is probably my favorite alt rock era song. And 100 or Cake, Go in the Distance. I remember listening to specifically with him and another buddy's room with the radio on, hoping these songs would come on. Just such a crazy experience that you would never have.
I hope you didn't have the microphone button pushed too, because you'd record your song and then you'd hear yourself in the background.
No, you didn't want that. Yeah, 100%.
1997, 91X playing Carousel by Blink-182. I would remember having my radio just recording there. And then Unreal Law playing Superman. Those were the ones I was always trying to get. Gone are those days.
Gangsta's Paradise. I had this cassette single, and then he was on every music award show. So it was I want to see Coolio perform, or Killing Me Softly. All those songs. I hope it comes on when I'm in the car, on my way to school or home from
How
school.
the times have changed.
You have to call in and be like, "Can you play this song?"
Can you
loser.
Imagine requesting a song rather than just whoever's got the aux cord, be hey, can you play that? Pull that up on
I never
Spotify.
got on. I would always call to request a song. I never got through, bro.
Even not that long ago, it was Pandora where if you didn't have the specific account, you couldn't choose a specific song. Now you could have a channel, and there was a good chance that channel played the song. But this is within the last 10 years or so, where you're kind of beholden to whatever that algorithm wants to spit you. You only have so many. You're when you run out of skips and you have to hear a commercial.
God
you're like,
damn,
oh man,
I gotta listen to this song. Sheesh,
it's
bro.
wild.
Trippin' Daisy, Better Than Ezra. Those were the bands that. I'm old.
Grieve Oliver.
Some Collective Soul.
Collective Soul, bro. Oh my God. Darnay, thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. I heard you give a shout out to people who have you on more than once. This is your home. whenever you want to come back
Appreciate
on
that.
and talk some shit.
Anytime.
I want to delve deeper in the future and your love for Philadelphia over San Diego and see exactly what we can do there. But hey, dude, I do love those Philly cheesesteaks, man. I'm gonna go to.
There's some good places to get them here too.
Go ahead. Which ones?
So I'm not getting any money from anybody. In Golden Hill, you don't know where that is.
Close.
Georgino's.
I've heard the name.
Georgino's in Golden Hill.
Okay.
Is a real deal. 2 in North Park. I'm sure you know where North Park
Yes,
is.
sir.
Right above
Wiseox.
South Park, right?
Tight pants, flannels, and
That's my.
There you
That's
go.
my world.
That's my
Twisty
world.
mustaches.
tight pants and not the flannel so much, but Wiseox has a good one.
Okay.
And then Gnarly Girl, which is a more recent pizza place. I think they've been open for a couple years. I think they won like best cheesesteak. And so I was like, I got to check them out. I finally did. They're really good.
Okay, there it
So
is.
there's places you can get like a real cheesesteak, like a good representation of a Philly cheesesteak. So
Where will
that's-
you be on opening day, though?
I will be at Petco Park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no pre-partying? Is that a work day for you?
So
Do you?
we're 100% work day for me.
Really?
Yeah, don't get into it. I enjoy seeing the people. You know, you might have some fans that you recognize on the way in and that sort of thing. But it's fun. What's fun about it is like I don't have to do anything before. That's just my shift. I've got more of kind of the nighttime shift, and so I can just kind of make my way in, soak up the atmosphere, say hi to people. You're always catching up with people, especially in the media world that maybe you didn't get to see. I didn't get to spring training this year, so maybe didn't get to see too much of. And so I can just chill and sit down and enjoy
Drink.
the game. And then after that, I wish I could drink.
More of an edibles guy.
After that, then you're kind of running around and doing all the TV stuff. But I'll get to like the anthem and everything beforehand and all that, like soak it in. So that's fun.
Where can people find you, follow you, and do all of the things that Darnay does?
At Darnay Tripp on Twitter, at Darnay Tripp NBC7 on Instagram. I was doing TikTok pretty steady for a while. That's fallen off a little bit. I need to get back to it. But then, yeah, the On Friar podcast, typically every Thursday on the NBC7 YouTube page. And then weekdays, Sunday evenings on NBC7.
Dude, you should do that TikTok every time you're on TV and just kind of have it on there, not even pay attention to it, and just kind of like, hey, what's going on?
There's a guy, Rigo, on the Telemundo side who's like big on TikTok.
Okay.
And I don't have enough followers. I think some of you unlock some of the features like live streaming when you have a certain number of followers. I'm not there yet, but every so often I'll catch him like doing live and he's doing his thing and that sort of thing. Like I haven't mastered it like some people. But I mean, that's the challenging thing. It's like the world is constantly changing. Like I try to like stay like keep a foot in all the different buckets, like as they pop up, like YouTube, TikTok. It's like you don't want the world to get away from you. So.
Dude, we're ignorant and we somehow made something out of TikTok. Yeah, I don't know what I'm
That's
doing.
probably
blew up
why.
at the
Yeah,
lunch.
we have zero clue what we're doing. I was like,
Lunch content.
Just kind of just throw in whatever we
Yeah.
put on Instagram, throw it on there, and
Well, that's the thing that you realize. It's like you'll have something that like blows up on Instagram that's like crickets on TikTok.
Yeah.
And you have something that goes crazy
Banana,
on TikTok.
yeah.
Nobody cares about
Yeah.
on Twitter. And so you're figuring out like how to kind of cater your content to each, which is a whole thing. And so that's why it's hard. You know, we can't all be Sammy Levitt, you know, who's just crushing it on every platform, the TikTok guy. So I do my best and hope people out there enjoy it.
Darnay, we're fans. Thank
Appreciate
you for
you.
spending time with us. I
Likewise.
know you're a busy dude, and taking time out of your day means a lot to us. You're always welcome, whatever you want to pop in. And
I thought we'd
talk
have
some
a
shit.
special visitor here, by the way. I don't know
Darren?
yeah, he hasn't texted me in a little
Darren.
bit.
Darren's out like, I don't even want to say what he's
Probably
doing.
on a bike
Riding
ride.
bikes around IB.
Yeah, without a shirt on in IB. He's probably went surfing in IB. He's going to have another limb pretty
Probably
soon.
taking the ferry across to Coronado or something.
Look forward to seeing you at opening day. I'll be hunting you down to
Likewise.
give you some IPAs.
Where are you at?
We're in section, what is our 109? 113.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we're there first base side. Love
Look
it.
at you.
Love our area. But yeah, man, hopefully we get to catch a game soon and further develop this little friendship of ours, bro.
I'd love it.
Big ups to Darnay.
Shout out.
Shout out, man. Friend of the show.